It's another late night live with Dr. Tureka Lewis, and I'm so happy to be with you here tonight. My name is Dr. Tureka Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou, your partner in success and progress. And I help people to boss up in their lives, careers, and relationships. So I am always getting questions and about hot topics, relevant events, and also leadership in life, right? Because that's what I help people to do. I help people to apply leadership to have better relationships, better careers, better businesses, and better life experiences. And I'm happy to be with you tonight. Thank you so much for those of you that are joining me live. And for those of you that are going to catch the replay, I appreciate you just as much. I want you to feel free to jump in the chat box right now and let me know that you're here. Just say hello and let me know if you're catching this live. If you're not catching this live, let me know if you're watching the replay. I'm going to double check my side devices while you're doing that just to make sure that you can see me and hear me. Okay. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, but it's not going to take us too long. I don't like to keep you too late. What's up, Jamal? It's so good to see you tonight. Thank you for joining me. I thought that since I'm a night owl, I had probably missed you today, meaning that you might not have been on to know that I was live. So it's really good to see you. We're going to get into some of those topics that I know you messaged me about earlier this week, but I had some other people message me too. And so you'll be able to ask questions, go back and forth. You know me, I like that banter. And I'm just double checking to make sure that you can hear me. People message me too. And so we know that you can hear me for sure on this device. All right. So anyway, let's turn that down. Get the earbuds out. I don't need to hear them right now. All right. So anyway, let's get started. There is so much going on in the world right now. Some of this stuff has been ongoing anyway. Some of this stuff is fairly new, and we're going to talk about a lot of it tonight. So one of the things that I was really excited about getting on here about, it's been on my mind for a minute. So let's get started. What do we want to start with? I want to talk a little bit about what's going on here in Florida, right? But it's going on in other states in the nation. I think Alabama is one of them and a couple of others. This won't take long, and then we'll get into some other stuff. But I have a lot of people that have been asking me, what do I think about what's going on in schools right now? And I want to tell you guys that there's a lot going on in schools right now. That's the thing that I'm concerned about, to be honest with you. A lot of stuff is going on in schools right now. Mainly, they're reopening, and there's a lot of debate about masks and whether or not students should wear masks. Now, I'm not going to really get into that debate tonight. I have some thoughts. I don't mind sharing them. If you guys have questions, or if you want to share your thoughts in the chat, that's fine as well. But one of the things that I want to say and make very clear is that if you're going to send your child to a brick and mortar school, it's important to remember why you are sending your child to a brick and mortar school. If you're an adult that's going back for education because you're trying to level up in your life, it is important, if you're going to a physical classroom, to remember why you're going to that physical classroom. So in addition to the safety, I know that there's a huge debate about masks, there's a huge debate about social distancing, there's a huge debate about whether or not vaccines should be required. The bottom line is, if you go, just make sure that you keep the meaning and the reason that you're going at the forefront of your mind. Remember your why. Okay, that's super, super important. I am happy to talk about my thoughts on what I think in terms of, the K-12 situation and here in Florida and in other states with like Governor DeSantis and what he's doing. I'm happy to talk about those at another time. But I just want to remind everybody, because it is back to school time for the next month or so, people will be asking me questions about it. Remember why you're going, and make sure that you're focused on those goals, making sure that you're focused on those achievements and seeing them happen. Having said that, we're going to move on, right? Because I said I didn't want to spend too much time on that. I just wanted to remind everybody that's super duper important. And I want to get to the other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm going to double check from time to time to make sure I don't forget, because that is super important. All right. So I want to talk a little bit too about Simone Biles. Yeah, Simone Biles. That's the next topic on the table. The reason I want to talk to you guys about Simone Biles is because I know that a lot of you have seen what she went through at the Olympics. I know that the Olympics are now over and the athletes are back home, but the debate continues. And the truth of the matter is that the debate, I'm double checking, I think. Yeah. So you turn that down. I hope that wasn't bugging you guys in the mic. The debate continues about Simone pulling out and citing mental health as the reason that she did. And this is just me giving you a quick overview of that, right? So she pulled out, she stopped and said she wasn't going to participate in some of the events, like for most of the middle of the events. She participated, I think, or she warmed up or prepared for the first, and she did participate in the last. But she pulled out, and the reason that she gave was mental health, and it started this firestorm of whether or not she had the right to do it, whether or not she was a quitter, whether or not she should even be in sports. You had sportscasters saying, sharing their opinion and all this other stuff. And I was going to go live when it all went down initially, but I'm kind of glad that I waited because there's more has happened since then. My initial thoughts were, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of reserved of reaching a judgment because I try not to judge people. And then my thought was, yeah, well, it did kind of look like things weren't going well. And then she just kind of pulled out. But this person has no history whatsoever of quitting, to my knowledge. Like she's accomplished a lot of the things she did through a lot of the hardest times in her life. And she's shown up every single time. What really concerned me about the Simone Biles situation, and then we'll get to another topic in just a moment, but what really concerned me about her situation was the anger that people discussed her with, as if they had a right to decide what she should be doing. And, I really had to think about the fact that most of the people weighing in and giving opinions haven't even been consistent on the gym membership that they bought when they made their New Year's resolution this year. This person, Simone Biles, has been in gymnastics for much of her 20-something odd years on this earth. Her body is in better shape than in terms of healthiness and physical fitness than most of the people you're going to see. And she has accomplished things with her body that most people, like more than 99% of the population, are not going to accomplish. She has broken records because she's able to push her body past the limit. So if she says it's not a good idea for her to use her body to do whatever, then even if I would have done something differently, or I think I would have done something differently, I don't know. And I'm not saying that's the case, but even if I did, I don't have a right to get angry at her and demand that she participate or get out. I don't have that right. I don't have that level of expertise. And so therefore, because I don't have that experience or that expertise, it's not my right. And let me just be straight with you. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love I'm getting in the chat. Let me just be straight with you. Even if I was a coach or I was a judge, I still don't have the right to tell her what to do with her body. And I'm not getting into the whole my body, my choice debate. No, that's not what I'm here for. What I'm saying is that it's very slavish in the mentality that we feel like we can tell a young Black woman that she has to participate in a very rigorous sport. And let's be honest, this is not, and I'm not knocking these sports. I enjoy them. This is not basketball. This is not soccer. This is not, I don't know, you name it, badminton, tennis. It's not any of those sports. And those sports are rigorous in and of themselves. But this is not those sports. This is a sport where if she comes down wrong and hits and it comes down on her head, she is done. She could be paralyzed. And so if she says it's not a good idea for her to participate, if she says it's not a good idea for her to compete, then it's not. What's that you say? Good brother Jamal, what do you mean big or small debate? Talk to me. What are you talking about? I want to know. I want to know your thoughts on it. Especially as a guy. I'd love to know, if you disagree with me, agree with me. The bottom line is, I think that was the insensitivity with which we were talking about somebody that can do things with their body that most people cannot, and the anger and the insults, and saying basically, well, if you can't handle it, get out of sports. A lot of the commentators that were saying things like that aren't in sports. You've been talking about sports your whole career and you're not even in sports, and you're going to tell her to get out. I don't think you have the right. I don't think you have the room. That's just me, so I really got tired of it. And then here's the thing. Thank you so much for Miss Burton for watching, Miss Burton Edwards. I do appreciate you. I see you all the time on social media, so I'm honored that you're here with me in a little time. We're talking about Simone Biles and her decision to stop competing in the Olympics for a while before getting back in there and finishing it out. And okay, all right. Jamal asked, "Do you think that we are making this a big debate out of a small topic?" I I would say that, Jamal, except just a couple of weeks ago, we were making a huge debate over Sha'Carri Richardson and whether or not she should have ingested the marijuana or whatever she did. I don't know if she ate it, smoked it, or whatever. We were making a big deal about that. And the reason it matters to me as well is because I'm usually I read the room and I pay attention to people. Most of the 80% of the things people say, there's an underlying reason that may or may not have anything to do with what they're arguing about. You know, married couples argue about money because they have control issues, or they argue about dishes because they're stressed about the money. And the point that I'm making is people don't often people often forget what their intentions are, or they haven't done enough self-examination to really know what their reason is for being upset about something. And people were really, really upset about this person not competing in the Olympics. So it was made a major topic. Now, is it something that we all need to be debating about, angry about, and upset about, given today's day and age and what's going on in the world right now? No. However, we tend to get distracted by world events all the time, and this was a major world event. So yeah, I do think that it mattered enough to talk about. Having said that, I do wish Simone Biles well. We found out after the fact that she had a death in the family, on top of feeling kind of separated from her body in terms of, you know, being in control of herself. And when you combine that and you've got a mixture of all of those things happening, I don't feel like it is fair of us to ask her to risk her life for our entertainment. And I don't think that we would ask that of other people. I don't think that we don't, and as I say that, we ask that of athletes all the time, but it's not healthy. That's just my honest opinion. It doesn't mean that athletes shouldn't compete at the highest level. It doesn't mean that there isn't something to be said for pushing through and giving a valiant effort when you're going through. But when you ask somebody to risk their life for your enjoyment, when they're going through all of these life issues, and you get offended when they don't, I just think that's another level of entitlement. You know, we talk a lot about entitlement. We talk a lot about disrespect. And I do think that it's dangerous to do. I think it's dangerous. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's toxic. So, you know, whatever the underlying reasons were that made her call it, all I've got to say is, you know, like with anybody else, I wish her well. I wish her the best. I hope that she heals from whatever she's dealing with. And, you know, while we're sending all that positive energy, I would say the same with Naomi Osaka, who I think had a more, her path to deciding not to compete was more laid out. She had already made the investment in getting some therapy. She had already had some diagnoses that the Tennis Association didn't know anything about, you know, when they initially complicated the situation, because initially she just wanted to not talk to the press. And I'm going into Naomi Osaka because that's another young female who happens to be a person of color who said, no, I'm not going to compete. No, actually, in her words, she said no, that she wasn't going to do the press junket. She wasn't going to interview during competition, and that she would after the fact, because it was too hard on her mental psyche. And it would be different if all of those correspondents that were interviewing Naomi Osaka were seriously just asking about the sports. But you and I both know that they work really hard to get good sound bites, and they do things to kind of throw the athletes off their game to see if they can get them. And if you don't believe it, just watch a couple of interviews with Venus or Serena Williams. They have gotten really good at flipping that on its head and clapping back and making it very, and I hate to use the words clapping back because it implies a certain thing, and that's not what it was. But they do a really good job of flipping those jabs and barbs on its end and turning it back around and making it uncomfortable for the interviewers that are throwing them out. And Venus said it best. Yeah, it was Venus. She said it best. She said that she keeps in mind that the people asking her questions will never compete at the level she competes at, will never play tennis like she plays it. And with that in mind, she then proceeds to deal with whatever they throw her way. And I think that we have to remember that sometimes there's malicious intent in some of the things that happens with athletes. So again, as far as Simone goes, I wish her well. I hope all is well. But I think that the dangerous thing that we saw was the slippery slope where everybody had these angry opinions as if she had done something personally to them. And Jamal, that's the other thing. You asked, is this a big deal? Us talking about it is no bigger than the people who got downright upset. I mean, just righteously indignant, as if she had done something personally to them. That was the problem I had with it. All right. And moving on to our last topic for the night. the topic people have been talking about, at least for the last couple of days, around me, and that is Lizzo. Lizzo in particular. I would say Lizzo and Cardi B, but this time around, Cardi B is not front and center of attention. But Lizzo and Cardi B dropped a song called "Rumors" a couple of days ago, a few days ago, and as always, we expect there to be, talk about it just because these two ladies like to push the envelope. But in this particular instance, there's been a little more, a unique debate. Boyce Watkins came online, chiding, if I could use the old school word, Lizzo, because she had been crying earlier in an Instagram live, because she said she felt like she was giving out a lot of love and she's not getting it back. Now, this is a complex topic, and I really want to take a moment to break it down, my thoughts on it. I don't mind if you disagree with me. If you do, I'd love to hear it. Type in chat if you want to come back, say some things or what have you. That's perfectly fine. So I'm gonna choose my words carefully, because once I do that and I meant what I said, then I'm cool taking whatever heat I'm gonna get for it. All right. So a couple of concerns I have, and they're not necessarily about the video. I thought the video, I've only seen it once. It was artistic in nature. There were a lot of beautiful backdrops and a lot of imagery and scenery. It wasn't particularly, if I could use this word, it wasn't what I would say is particularly raunchy for either of the ladies. And it was a great way to take control of the narrative when you are gossiped about a lot. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. You get to a certain stage in your life where you care less and less about what people say about you, but those things can hurt and sometimes do. And the ladies were basically addressing, the fact, bringing up a lot of the rumors that exist about them, and, saying that, they personally don't care, and, this is what it is. This is my life. And I'm still, going to do whatever I do. All right. So here's the thing. Here's my concern. So the video drops. It's visually stunning if you like, if you're into the aesthetics of it. And it's not extreme. And then Lizzo, in her excitement, she's made a lot of appearances. Then she goes live and she starts crying, and she says that she's received such hateful commentary. Not across the board. She said a lot of people liked the video, but that there were a lot of mean things being said about her body. And she felt like some of the stuff that was said about her also, thanks for the love. I see you guys hearting it up and I really appreciate it. She also said that she was getting a lot of hatred because she felt like it was because of the color of her skin. I haven't seen the comments. Jamal, if you Google rumors, it's going to pop up at the top. I'm not going to share it just because they'll probably take my live down afterwards, but please look at it. And I wouldn't say that if I felt like it was so edgy. I would give you a disclaimer or a warning. It's not. You've seen worse. People have seen worse. All right. But so she was crying, though. She said that she gives out so much love and she doesn't get it back. I had several thoughts, as a person who believes that spreading love is super important, as a person who believes that love can look delicate and gentle, but it can also be firm and corrective in terms of teaching people how to treat you when you love them and they love you. Sure, I'll share a link. Jamal asked me to share it later. I'll definitely share a link to it in the comments later. So I believe that love is important, but I also have learned over the years that you cannot expect or demand that others love you the way you love yourself or the way you love them. So Lizzo has taken a very strong stance in just embracing her body. She does seem to struggle with it, to me, because on the one hand, she'll say that it's her body and she's proud of it. And on the other hand, she will say that she's trying as hard as she can to change it and it's not working, and that she doesn't feel great about it. And to me, that just is a typical struggle that a lot of people have. The challenge is when you're in the public eye and you present yourself as being more confident than you actually feel. And I know sometimes they say fake it till you make it. I don't know about faking it till you make it, but definitely believe it and see yourself as the thing you want to be. So confidence being one of those things. But you have to be careful because a lot of people aren't confident. And when you exude confidence and a person is insecure, they will then bash you and attack you and project that inner self-hate outward onto you. So if you haven't shored yourself up, if I'm going biblical, if you haven't put on the whole armor of God, if I'm going not biblical, if you haven't really protected yourself, it will hit you hard because you won't be ready for it. And I say that to say, just because you love yourself doesn't mean that people around you are in a position to love you back. It may not even be that they don't want to love you. They just may not be able to love you. And therefore, they can't respect you. The same is true for confidence. Just because you're confident or you're building your confidence doesn't mean that people around you are. As a matter of fact, our society teaches people not to be super confident. If you want to offend people, speak highly of yourself. And I'm not talking braggadocious. I'm just saying, say you love yourself too much in a room of people for no reason or for a reason. Say, oh my gosh, I did that when you do something well, and see what happens. Do it 2 or 3 times. You'll get called arrogant. You'll get called conceited. You'll get called everything but confident. And then people will be offended. Oh my gosh, I can't stand being around her. But if you say those things about other people and you say just as much about yourself, that's corrective. People are okay with it. Oh, she's down to earth. She's realistic. And so we do that because we're taught we are taught to misapply the scripture that says pride comes before a fall. We are taught to misapply what the true definition of humility. We are taught to misapply the term humility. We're taught that. And so because we do it to ourselves, we tend to do it to other people. So I say that to say, I think Lizzo is trying to project more confidence than she feels. But I also think that she's being attacked because a lot of people aren't confident, period. And we're taught to resent and hate certain things, and we're insecure about certain things. One of those things is our weight. Most people don't feel like they're an ideal weight. Most people are trying to fix something. You can find a person that you think is perfect. 9 times out of 10, they're trying to adjust their weight. So her weight being an issue is other people's issue with themselves. They're not going to be able to embrace that in her. So I say that to say, and I say this all the time, and to me, this ties into what happened with Chloe from Chloe and Halle in that little sister group that that's signed under Beyonce, and they both hit their early adult years, so like late teens, early 20s, and just like got super proud of their physique and dancing and doing all this other stuff, and a lot of people got really upset. Now with them, it's a different story. They became famous when they were little kids, so people tend to feel like they're your auntie, your mama, your grandmother, so they got their opinions, and it comes from a different place than with Lizzo. But Chloe has gone on live on Instagram crying too because of the vitriol that she received. And so here's my thing. If you're going to put yourself out there, especially in ways that are not necessarily always deemed acceptable, then I think one of the things you have to do is also be ready to be the bad guy to some people. Whether you feel like you're a bad guy or not, understand that people are going to have their opinions and that it's okay. You got to be at peace with yourself, because the reality is a lot of these people that are acting like they're the most conservative, this and that. This is a thing I found when I was preaching. Licensed, ordained, all that good stuff. This is what I found. Some of the people that were being the most judgmental about people because of the fit of their clothing were also doing some of the most dirt behind the scenes, behind the pulpit, if you will, late at night creeping and all this other stuff. Not to mention the fact that a woman who has an hourglass figure wearing a tight dress was going to get talked to more often in those conservative circles than a woman who is shaped differently and her suit just being tight, because you tell me. We could get into some debates about that. But I say that to say, so you learn early on to love yourself, to get comfortable in your own skin, and to make sure that you have a sound mind about what you're doing and what you're presenting, because the world may or may not take it like you want them to. And you need to be okay. You need to be okay. You need to be able to sleep at night, even if everybody thinks you're ugly. You need to be able to sleep at night, even if everybody thinks you are a garden tool, as long as you are at peace with your choices. Now, I'm not saying that I'm endorsing any particular lifestyle. Why? Because that's not my right. It is not my right. I'm going to sleep the same tonight, regardless of what you do, especially because I don't know for most people, but it's not my right. It's not my space. All of that judgmental stuff is really just compensating for things, man. Love yourself. When you love yourself, you don't have time for all of that. But anyway, I go back to Lizzo and I say, I think the best thing that she and people in her similar situation can do is, if you're going to put yourself out there, if you're going to be twerking every time anybody sees you, then be ready to work through your hurt feelings on your own when people come at you, because they will. And it's not that she shouldn't have the feelings. My gosh, there are times that things hurt just because, you may argue that it shouldn't, but strangers can hurt your feelings. I've had people, since I've been in social media world, I've had complete, total strangers comment below a picture that I posted on Facebook that I was fat. And I was thinner than I am now. And it was just out of the blue. And I remember the first time it happened, because my husband was upset and he wanted to know who made the comment. And I was like, it's not that serious. You have to hate yourself a whole lot to get upset over a complete and total stranger's body, And the reality is, you have to learn how to love yourself. You have to learn how to be at peace with yourself, and you have to protect that peace. That's what I wish for Lizzo. I hope she's fine. She seems to have been struggling a lot emotionally over the last year to a year and a half. I've seen her heavy on several occasions, emotionally heavy. And I wish her the best. But I also would say to people who find great pleasure in judging people and being the mean girl, if you will, on the internet, to be careful, because that energy, you cannot send out any energy that does not come back. You cannot plant a seed that does not grow in your own garden as well. And so when you start throwing shade, understand that you're going to be sitting under the same tree. And the reality is that if you're not careful, you won't have the support that you need to get through the horrible feelings that you are now giving to other people. Love yourself. Love yourself. If you don't like Lizzo's video, don't watch it. I promise you she'll be all right. If you feel super angry when you see stuff like that, check that. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why you're upset. Sometimes it's because we're jealous and we won't admit that. Right? So anyway, those are my thoughts on those two things. I'm trying to think if there's any other major trending topics that I wanted to jump into tonight. Again, let me circle back to the schools and say this. Let me say this. A couple of things I want to say about schools as students are returning. I've got a lot of people on my timeline sharing first day of school pics, but there'll be others. The schools will be resuming up until early September, right? Depending on where you are. Education is important. Parents obviously believe that, because on some level, you might be risking your life to send your child to school to get an education. So it must be very important to you. So with that being said, remember your why. Everybody, there are a lot of people that are sending their kids to school for different reasons. You'll hear a lot of people give the broad generalization, especially in the African American community, that they're sending their child to school so they can have a better life. You'll have people that are sending their child to school so they can build social skills. You'll have people sending their child to school because they have to go to work. Let's just be honest. There are people that are sending their child to school because by law they have to. And if they don't, they'll be arrested for neglect. You got several different reasons that you're sending your child to school. So I will say this to the parents that might feel a little anxious, because today is a little different, right? This era right now is a little different. This last year and a half has been a little different, and it shows no signs of shifting into the way it used to be ever, right? Anytime soon, if ever. If you're uneasy about it, evaluate your why. Make sure you know why you're sending your child to school. Make sure you know the needs that are getting filled in school, and don't mix it all up. Don't mix it all up. School is for education and learning. Then there's daycare and childcare. Then there is therapy and counseling. And then there is also food and meals, right? Provision and social development. All of those things, we use schools to provide those needs or meet those needs, but that doesn't mean that that's what schools are actually for. Schools were established to provide education and a learning environment. And then we realized that all these other things were very correlated to that. So why not? We have to facilitate those things in order to give the child the best chance of learning. But we also began to provide things for students just because school was a good community hub and we could. So then we started giving away backpacks and giving away school supplies and making sure the students had meals. As a result, when COVID hit and schools shut down, families didn't have food because they had been counting on school to provide meals for the children. And I say that to say, so as you think about returning to school, a lot of people have what I call zombie condition, zombie mentality. We do it because that's the way it's done. We do it because that's how they told us to do it. We do it because that's what's available and where else am I going to go? Evaluate it. Even if you arrive at the decision to continue doing what you've been doing, you want to remember to evaluate so that you know your why, so that you know your resources, and so that you know you have choices and options. All right. When you do that, school becomes easier. When you do that, you can support the learning process. When you do that, you can give your child or yourself, whoever the student is, the best chance of success. So, yeah, I'll say that about schools. And as for the other stuff, whether to wear a mask or not, whether to get vaccinated or not, whether the school should be implementing more COVID protocols or not, you take that into consideration as a safety issue and you make your decision there as well. And then you do the best with what you have. Don't judge other people and don't be hard on yourself. Because if you are a parent that is working and you don't have a choice, you can't work from home and your child has to go to school and you've prayed about it or done whatever your process is for protecting your child and you're sending them, then give them the best chance for success. Focus on the why. Make sure they have the supplies that they need. Make sure make sure they have the mask. Make sure that they have whatever precautions you're going to give them, or, make sure that you've done everything you can so that the stress doesn't rest on them. And then remember to sit down and talk with your students when they get home, because they're feeling the stress. Their teachers are stressed out. Teachers are afraid right now. And so because of that, they're going to project that a little bit in the classroom. And I'm going to say this too. I want us to stop assuming that our children are getting good educations just because they have access to a school building and resources. Because even a child can be making straight A's and getting a horrible education. Make sure you're plugged in and you're aware. And that goes for the adults that are trying to get educated too. Don't just get educated for the sake of saying that you're educated. That's a huge waste of time. And my student loans would argue it's also a waste of money. Make sure that you know your why. Okay. And that you use what you have. All right. And so, yeah, I wanted to touch on that. And that was it because I had some questions. And good brother Jamal says, yes, you have to let school use you. And he says, I'm trying to get an education. Jamal, I applaud you on that. I applaud anybody that's trying to grow. Just know this. This is my perspective on education before I go. It's not about school. It's about educating yourself. It's about learning what you need to learn in order to be successful. So people who are not seeking educations like to use Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these other people as example. I don't know about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs for sure, and somebody else, several others that did well financially that don't have a college degree. They like to use them as an example of why you shouldn't go to school. And I would say this. I know Bill Gates for sure, but Steve Jobs as well have extensive reading lists. They're always studying. And if you're not reading, maybe you're learning by hands-on practice. Maybe you're learning because you're a YouTube expert. Look, you can study a lot of things on YouTube. People like to say you don't pay attention to YouTube. No, use YouTube. Use every free resource that you have. And remember, it is possible to learn your way to success. You're not going to be successful at anything that you're not willing to learn. Because what you have to remember is when you came here to this earth, you weren't a carpenter, you weren't a computer tech, you weren't any of those things. You had to learn. So learning is going to be your friend. So Jamal, I applaud you on trying to get your education. I will recommend this for a lot of people. If going to college is not an option, right? And I'm not saying it's the best option for everybody. There are other resources that you can provide. I know I pride myself on trying to create high quality resources for people that are easily accessible. You said, was that a yes to self-education? Absolutely. But you want to make sure that you vet your sources, Jamal. And you want to make sure that you reach out, use whatever resources that you can find around you so that you're not just in a silo by yourself. But yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, my degrees are probably not the most extensive educative accomplishments that I have. There are so many things that I've studied for years and years at a time in order to be able to be good at things that I felt were important for me, either for my personal development or for my professional development. So, but I'm legit a lifelong learner, not the cliche, not just saying I'm going to be in school for a long time, but because I've got to be learning. I've always got to be understanding things more deeply, and that it doesn't stop just with academia. It's also social commentary, politics, and social justice, all of that stuff. You know, I believe in being knowledgeable. I believe you should. I believe you should. I use the same methodology that I was taught when I was learning how to preach. Read yourself full, think yourself clear, pray yourself hot, and let yourself go. I do that with any topic. I may do it differently now than I used to do it, but I still do it. But yeah, educate yourself. Learn everything that you can learn. And as I was saying, I try to provide quality, affordable materials that will allow you to learn your way to success. So like my latest course is Better Money, Career, and Relationships Now. It's for people looking to boost their life experience in those areas. And I invested the same effort in creating those courses as I did when I was creating courseware for the National Fire Association, the state of Georgia, the federal government, let's see, you name it, a lot of places. The bottom line is I invest just as much into those types of courses as I do the stuff that I created for those organizations, because I believe that it's important to be getting high quality, understanding, clarity, and knowledge. Not what do I say? Knowledge, understanding, and awareness in any given area at any given time. So yeah. So those are my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Those of you that stayed the whole time, I love you and appreciate you so much. Please be sure to drop me a comment. If you haven't already done so, please like, share, subscribe. I do plan on being more consistent and showing up. And I guess that's what I'm saying. I appreciate you being here for the reason that sometimes it's hard to show up, you know, when we're dealing with stuff. Sometimes we need to cocoon, heal, grow, get ready, flex our wings. But other times it's important to just keep showing up. You never know what people are going to benefit from or get from that. And so you guys showing up and being here with me tonight definitely encouraged me, because I almost didn't go live because it got late. Because I'm working. I've got 2 small children and an adult child, and a husband and a house, and work that I have to do, contracts and clients and so much stuff that it's easy to get bogged down and not show up. But I'm making a commitment to do it more often. So anyway, I love you guys very much. Thank you for spending so much time with me. I will be back next weekend, just like clockwork, but I'm not going to promise a time because it is what it is. Until next time, it is your girl, Dr. Tureka Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou, your partner in success and progress. I love you. I believe in you. And for now, I am out.